Hey everyone, it's Nicole Clark with the QA and Compliance team. Before I get into today's topic, I just want to tell you guys that on December 12th, Tony Barger, another member of the QA and Compliance team, and I are going to do our very first Facebook Live. Now, this is my very first Facebook Live, so you may just want to come and get entertained by us doing this because I don't think either one of us has ever done this before, so that might be entertaining in and of itself, but I think we're going to have a really great topic to talk about. And I'm really excited to do it and hopefully hear from you as we do this as well. And you'll hear more about the topic in the next couple of weeks as we move closer to the 12th. But we hope that you guys can come. We're going to have two live sessions. We're going to do one at 12:15, again, December 12th, one 12:15 Eastern, and then one again at 12:15 Central. So that hopefully those guys in the Central Time Zone can join us. And we would love to hear from you. So, pencil us in on that day and watch out for more information to come. Today, though, I want to talk a little bit about documenting to support the number of minutes that we build. And as we go through these Right Way Wednesday videos, we are really focused in on documentation to support our services that we provide. And we have seen denials from time to time that really have focused on the fact that our documentation hasn't supported the minutes that we said we billed for or that we delivered that treatment in. And this is across payers. So whether it's Part B, Part A, managed care, all reviewers are looking at this. And when it comes to Part B, they will pull out just say a certain number of units or whatever CPT code they say isn't supported by the documentation. With Part A, it becomes a little more complicated because those minutes are part of a RUG level, and if they are saying that our documentation doesn't support, say, therapeutic exercise as we build it on a particular day, they'll pull those minutes out, and then potentially that will end up in the RUG down of a code, and that place has a significant impact not only on us, but on our customers, especially if you think about that RUG level then extrapolated over a 30-day period. So it's really important that we focus on something that we don't necessarily think about when we're documenting is, does it support the number of minutes that I billed for? And it's not something we do think about, at least not in the front of our mind, but we should be on a regular basis. And so we did receive our most recent denial on this, and again, we've seen these sort of denials happen across payers. This one in particular was a managed care. And I want to just read really quickly part of the note. I'm going to just sort of paraphrase or read most of it, the stuff that I think is really important. Now, I want you to keep in mind as I read this, this is all documented under therapeutic activities. And there were 104 minutes billed for this treatment. So that's 7 units. All right, so think about that as I'm reading this. Therapeutic activities for 7 units. Read medical chart in room, collected necessary data and recorded an evaluation and discussed with patient. Performed subjective and objective testing, results recorded with its norms, complete assessment performed for upper extremity function and dysfunction, interviewed patient on goals and needs, completed initial evaluation and established plan of care and set goals. Patient reported urinary incontinence, performed complete assessment and administered standardized testing for urinary incontinence. Patient expressed interest in receiving treatment for UI. Then after complete discussion, patient changed mind. Therefore, we'll focus on bilateral upper extremity function and treatment. Now, all of that information is great. It's stuff that we needed within the evaluation, right? That information that that you talked about the goals, that the patient was involved in that process, all of that is really good. Some of this does appear to be fluff, not necessarily something that provides us any real information, right? Perform subjective and objective testing. Well, what exactly does that mean? What was that testing? Above and beyond, though, all of that is that what I just read, much of it isn't considered skilled in nature and therefore not billable. And much of it, actually most of it, if not all of it, is actually considered evaluative in nature. So would not have been billed separate and distinct from the evaluation under therapeutic activities. So there are a couple of things going on here. We have documented that we have billed for reading the medical chart and collecting necessary data. Now, just because the clinician tacked on and discussed with patient at the end of that sentence doesn't make it billed and doesn't make it a true point of service billable documentation time. And so you want to think about that. Not all of the time that we spend doing a chart review, if it's in the presence of the patient, is going to be appropriate for point of service documentation. So on its own, reading the chart, collecting the data, recording the evaluation, those aren't billable activities. Performing subjective and objective tests are part of the evaluation and would have been captured in those eval minutes. And recording tests is not billable, again, unless it's done point of service, but there are very specific guidelines for that, right? The resident has to actively be involved in that portion of that treatment. Upper extremity functional assessments, part of the eval, again, and would have been billed to the eval code. Patient interview, again, part of the eval. Really none of what was documented in that note would fall under therapeutic activities. So above and beyond the fact that they billed 104 minutes for that, which does, when you're reading just that part, that note, and that was the whole note, doesn't really support that excessive amount of time, it also isn't supported by the CPT code that it's documented under. So there are a couple of things going on there. So you want to make sure, number one, that our documentation does support the amount of time that we bill. And it's not necessary to say they did this set of exercises for 20 minutes and then they did this set of exercises for 5. We don't have to get that specific, but what we do have to do within our documentation is show in a reasonable way that what we documented reasonably took the amount of time that we billed for, okay? In addition to that, we have to be able to support the specific CPT code that we're billing and documenting under. And there are very specific guidelines about what these CPT codes are for, especially when we're looking at the day of the eval in your first treatment. You have to make sure that the evaluation note and the skilled treatment that you provided look distinct and separate and were distinct and separate. You have to make sure that your documentation supports that you actually provided hands-on skilled treatment above and beyond the initial evaluation, right? Hopefully that helps you think about that in a little bit of a different way and just highlights what we need to be doing in our daily notes to ensure that we are supporting every minute that we bill, no more and no less, and that we really are showing the distinct and separate nature in supporting every CPT code we bill. If you have any questions, please ask in the chat box below or send us an email at qa@healthpro-heritage.com. We would love to hear from you and help you in any way we can. As always, thank you for watching and happy documenting.